And we're live.
Welcome to Drink, Spin, Run, an RPG talk show. I'm Don Stroud. And
we forgot how to do the show.
And I'm Harley Stroh. Welcome
to
Drink, Welcome back.
His lovely co-host is Harley Stroh, and I'm Adam Miscavige. I'm just some guy.
nice.
Our lovely guest today is, of course, Mr. Harley Stroh. Harley, how you doing, man?
I am wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me back on. It's a real treat.
Oh, you know, I was telling him before the show started, you are one of our most requested guests, and you know, looking back on the episode that you were on, I can totally see why. You're just such a fun guy to talk to, and so I'm glad you're here now. Harley,
enough of my nasally giggle. All right, so
it is the giggle. The giggle is infectious, Harley. That's why I've worked out our guest in the second half of the program.
Oh shit!
Because I want a recursive giggle loop going. I think we can make it happen. I've threatened people with the Harley Stroh Nathan Panke recursive, feedback giggle loop. I think we can make it happen. I think we can do it. But our gorgeous listeners, of course, remember Harley Stroh from all of the awesome stuff he's made, most notably for Dungeon Crawl Classics. He did some stuff for 4th edition D&D, 3rd edition D&D, through the Dungeon Crawl Classics line. Harley, when Brendan was on last week, or 2 weeks ago, he got to talk about projects that he's working on. Joe gave him the official, hey, talk about stuff, seal of approval. Next week this coming week is GenCon, as we're recording this.
Yes, I fly out.
What should we be super excited?
If you guys have been to the website, Goodman Games is just doing a ton of shit for this Gen Con. There's Journey to the Center of the Aerith, followed by a supplement, The Lost City of Baracco, which we had the usual cast of suspects that helped out on that. Friend of show, Tim Callahan, Daniel Bishop, Terry Olson, Stephen Bean, just a host of wonderful authors that jumped into something
awesome guys.
And made it. Well, they made it, a million times better. So, to lay down the foundation and have those guys build off of it is always a treat. So we have that coming out. We have the DCC lunchbox for your child. Just all sorts of random shit. It's really going to be awesome. It's our biggest booth yet. It's the most games we've ever run, and
there's a special Harley Stroh how to write like Harley release coming out, isn't there?
Oh, well, no, it's like a writer's version of a sketchbook. It's basically like the things that Harley was working on when he should have been meeting deadlines for Joseph Goodman.
Cool.
But Doug Kovacs has a sketchbook and an actual sketchbook, which is going to be sweet. And then Mike Curtis is going to have a collection of his writing. So it's just an opportunity for us to put to use all of the kind of the scraps and bits that never made it into a real publication. But they're kind of cool to see together. Yeah, it's fun. You you go to the end of a Mike Mignola, I don't know, BRPD, comic, and then there's those last 12 pages, and you get to see the evolution of all this stuff. And this is the DCC version of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know. Totally
and for those who didn't know, Doug is not going to be in the artist alley this year. He's actually going to be at the Goodman booth.
Man, have we ever gotten a clear reconciliation or reason for that? I don't know. That still rankles my mind.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I heard a couple of stories, but none of it's
they're all
blah blah blah. It's all Doug talk, and who knows? Yeah.
But it's bullshit is what it is. Anyhow, but yes, rather than not manning his booth in the artist alley, Doug will not be manning his booth at Good Games. But we'll still be selling his stuff, and I don't know. I'm just sure, it was always great to have Wayne, kind of caretaking his stuff. And so Doug will be at the booth. I think there's another artist. Dungeoneer. Who did Dungeoneer?
Janelle Takes?
No. There's another, and I apologize for forgetting his name. You know what I'm thinking of, though. Anyways, there's Thomas Denmark. Thank you, Lord. I think
See,
he
you
also
could
has
have
his face.
you could have also said like Warriors of the Red Planet, because that's the thing of his I know the best. His Warriors of the Red Planet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. His like Mars illustrations are so good.
Oh, dude, the guy's brilliant. He's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he'll be there. Yeah, and it really is. It's going to be really cool. And so it's bringing all the people back together, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like you look at North Texas Con and Gary Con and Gen Con, and they're really different beasts. And so like
Yes.
and like you can love both for different reasons. Like they're not even on the same spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like the 50,000 people going to Gen Con. It's just a different experience from sitting down, and it doesn't make any one or the other less awesome. Like from North Texas and getting actually to game with these luminaries, and showing up with like 50,000 of your best friends to like wait in line for a hot dog. I mean, like Gen Con is awesome too. The opportunity to see all these people together. I was thinking the other day, it's like, all right, what. There's no good analogy, but it makes me so happy to see like this barbarian horde of gamers coming together. If imagine like there's no other context. Like maybe like the Super Bowl. Like if there was a Super Bowl and all 50,000 people attending the Super Bowl also happened to be players on the individual teams, that would be they all participate.
Yeah, and they were all fans of different teams too, or different ways of playing the same sport. That's also a big issue.
It's such a treat to be doing something that's not, we're not passive. Like these people are showing up, they're participating, they're generating their own ideas, they're implementing their own ideas. Right now, across the world, there's 50,000 people like hurriedly putting together, PC, whatever tchotchkes at the very last minute. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It is. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
We really miss going, but it's so expensive, right? And we need to take after 2 years on. We need to take at least 2 years off, and we might be back again next year. Who knows? But things will be in a different place then. So who knows? Hey.
What's going on in your life? Hold on. No.
Well, can we get to okay, all right. Harley takes over the show when he's on. So
no, I'm not trying to be a dick, but so you're now a gamer with child. How's that working out? How's your life changed since this transformative experience?
Well, thank you so much for such an incisive question. That's good. All right, it changes, right? It does. It has to change. You have to change how.
If it doesn't, you're a failure. Like seriously.
Probably not doing it right. Yeah.
If you're static, you're dead.
Yeah. No, it does mean that like time has to be blocked out a little bit more. Like my gaming and Katie's gaming doesn't overlap like it used to. She's actually what's cool is that she's getting to spend more time gaming now. So like Thursday night, she's running Metamorphosis Alpha with some friends who don't really game, which is great because she's just getting into DMing, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
So like I'll take Little Man for a few hours while she does that, and like I still get my Iron Coast game, and then once a week, like right now, we're almost done with this Torchbearer arc that I've been running, and then we get to move on to Gabriel Perez-Gachardi running 5e for a little while, and then Craig Brasco's going to do this cool thing he's working on. But so there's it is you have to be careful with it. Now we've worked out a way to do cons, but we got a little bit of work to get there. But that's what grandparents are for, and we're just going to say
and you have like relatives that are like baby whisperers and stuff, right? Like nieces and old I remember before.
Oh yeah, we have a ton of nieces. We have Stanley is on Katie's side. Stanley's the 15th grandchild, so like there are like everybody knows about children. So we can bring like family members and just be like, here, take the baby. The last time we didn't bring one to Gary Con, we had to bring our friend. Or we got to that way because all of the nieces were in trouble, so none of them came. And the nephews, I don't exactly trust the same way. So yeah, but conventions now are going to be like, here, my parents can take the baby for a weekend, and we're going to go and be adults. So we just gotta make that possible. So we're a couple months away from that, but it's going to get its test at UConn. So because by then we won't live here in Ipsy anymore. So
no way. Where are you guys moving?
Yeah, we're moving. When or where?
Where? Sorry.
We're moving to the town that my folks live in, South Haven. Okay. So we'll actually be really close to Roy Snyder, friend of the show. And we're ultimately going to be in Kalamazoo, but we want to start there because free daycare is retired parents equal free daycare.
It makes a lot of sense. Well, you want your children, potentially your children, to have relationships with their grandparents, so that makes a ton of sense.
Absolutely. So when we moved to Kalamazoo, they'd only be like a half hour away, which is really close. We're talking too much.
All right, sorry.
About me, and this is not why I have you on the show, Harley.
I'm fascinated by people. This is why coming on is so interesting to me. We haven't. Well, can we just check in with Mr. Stroh real quick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like last
time
I saw him,
since you've talked.
Like last I saw him, he was raising ducks behind his computer desk, and they were all nestled up against the tower.
Yeah.
And, how's the duck project going?
The ducks were escorted from the premises because they were having too much gangbanging, and the wife didn't like to watch it. So we got rid of the ducks, went up to my friend's farm. They're happy. He's got like 300, 400 ducks. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got a big operation. And what are we doing now? Oh, there's a beehive in the backyard.
That's awesome.
So,
wait, are they gonna be able to survive the winter? Like, doesn't it get wicked cold where you're at?
Yeah, but they should be able to survive. I mean, it gets cold. It's just normal Michigan cold.
It's not like those weird parts of like Pennsylvania and where it gets like stupid cold. We just get weather.
Okay.
It gets cold, sure. That's not too bad.
Yeah, they should survive. There's a chance they won't with any hive. It's like a 30% chance up here, so we'll see.
And so are you dude, you're like back to the earth. Are you going to be harvesting honey and beeswax and all that sort of thing? Or?
Yeah, in the spring I'll grab it. Most big operations, they'll grab it in the fall when they're done, and then they'll just feed the bees like sugar water. That's not cool because you're like taking all their work and just giving them crap,
They did all that work making that food, and there you are taking it away from them.
So
giving them
crap.
Or shit.
Here, have the shit I feed my hummingbirds.
Exactly. So in the spring, I'll check it out. They have made a lot of honey. I have tasted it. It's really good.
That's awesome.
But now they're pretty territorial now because it's the end of the fall. So it's like the middle of summer. It's almost fall. This is
they got the
story.
Fuck off reflex. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll tell this crazy story on air. It'll be quick. One day I went out there, they flew at me from underneath the hive. I'm like, shit, I'm not going to do this now because they flew at my face, The next morning at 8, I put on my bathrobe and slippers. I walk out to the hive. I open it up. It's a top bar hive.
Right. Those are supposed to be really healthy for the bees.
Yeah, they're supposed to be cool. So I slip the bars back and they fly at my head, so I'm like swatting them. And I pull up my robe. And I hear them inside my bathrobe.
You mean your bee catcher? You pulled up your bee catcher?
I hear him in the robe going, bzzz. So I start running towards the house. I take my robe off. I'm running across the yard naked with this cloud of bees chasing me.
Nice.
That is awesome. That is a wonderful story.
So then I ordered a veil and gloves and a smoker, and I'm not messing around anymore.
Oh.
Hey, Don, Paul Linkowski has a question for you. He wants to know if the honey is for mead.
Of course it is.
All right, there we go. Great answer. I love it. You're going to have that mead. Oh, it'll be sometime next year. You're going to bring it to GaryCon, right?
Oh, I should go to GaryCon.
I probably won't be ready, yeah.
Like what's the ratio of like honey to like bottle of mead? Like if you're like distilling like syrup or whatever, you need a ton of sap. Is it the same sort of honey or? I
think I just read that a bee in its lifetime. This isn't quite the question you're asking, but I'm going to use something else instead. It might be. They do like a third of a teaspoon throughout their life. Like that's all the honey each bee makes. Yeah.
Wow. And so how many bees do you think you have in your hive, in your colony or whatever?
Probably, I started with 3,000, which is like 3 pounds of bees. They're probably at least 10 to 12,000 now. It's crazy. It's like all day long there's a cloud of bees around it going in and out.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
right on. Well, thank you for that story.
Yeah.
And Harley, Paul wants you to know that it's 14 pounds for 5 gallons of meat.
There we go. Wait.
That's...
Wow. Okay. That's
it's a lot.
Of honey.
Hey, speaking of mead, Don Stroud, what are you drinking? We're doing the show.
Right. I like that. That's why you're the professional.
I am drinking New Holland. Now, I just went out before the show. My wife wanted some wine, so we went to the food co-op, and she bought me this beer. It was very nice of her. New Holland Imperial Hatter. Have you ever had the Imperial Hatter?
I have not. I've had their
white Hatter and the normal Hatter, the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
There's the Red Hatter. There's the Hatter. I don't know. This is the Imperial. It's 10%. It tastes great. I love it. Like, I'm kind of over hoppy IPAs, but I guess maybe I'm not, because I was like, man, this tastes good. What are you drinking?
I'm actually drinking something that's hoppier than I normally like. And viewers of the show will remember last time we recorded, or viewers of the whatever, our gorgeous listeners might remember that last time we talked to Brendan. I had just gotten back from Bell's Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been trying to give Bell's a fairer shake. So I'm drinking Bell's Oatsmobile with the horse on it for some reason.
Yeah.
It's a session pale ale brewed with oats. Because the horses eat oats, I guess. But
they do.
It's an Oldsmobile joke, damn it. And it's a horse? What the fuck? I guess a horse is an Oatsmobile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's pretty good, actually. It got better after the first one, but I had an accident on my way home. So, I stopped on the way home to pick up beer, and I put it in the back seat, and when I got out of the car, and I opened up the back seat where the beer was, it had all flopped over. So first one beer came out and hit the ground and didn't break open. The second one broke open, shot it everywhere. Third one hit just right and started spraying beer out of the cap.
Those are the bad ones.
In the end, there was only one beer left in the six-pack, so it's okay. I'm still drinking them. I even drank the one that got like halfway poked open, so I'm on number 3 right now. I really only lost one beer in that process.
Right.
It's actually pretty good. It is one of those beers that the more you drink, the better it gets. While I'm on the topic, I got to go to Brewery Becker in Brighton. I want to say Brighton. Yeah, Brighton for a wedding last weekend. And that's actually why I have no facial hair anymore. Because I shaved down to a Lemmy, and then my wife reminded me, hey, your mom wanted to get photographs at this of the family at this thing, and she might not appreciate it if you got a Lemmy. So that's where it all went. Goodbye, facial hair. But Brewery Becker's okay. I wasn't super impressed by them, so I wouldn't waste the trip. But it's always good when someone knows making beer, and they weren't bad. But so don't be like, no, I'm not going to go there.
No, yeah.
But,
with 273 breweries, which I think is what we have up and coming, there are bound to be some mediocre.
They can't all be winners.
There's mediocrity in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of it.
Probably at least half, right?
There's a bell curve involved somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love the math. All right, Harley Stroh, what are you drinking?
Tonight, in anticipation of our 5 a.m. wake-up call, for departure to GenCon, we're drinking Hornitos. We brought all the important.
Oh.
We have our lime juice, our Refreshe, and I'm operating from the basement, so I had to bring everything down with me there, so I wouldn't be ducking. I'd be like, all right, I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. So so we're having tequila.
Nice.
Tequila tonight.
Excellent. Good. How's tequila time treating you?
The ice shaker down there.
I think there's a lesson. I don't know. I'd be interested in your guys' take on this, but probably is it true that the better tequila, the less painful the hangover?
I think so.
Hornitos has been treating me well so far.
Has it?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll, if I miss GenCon, I'll blame it on Drink Spin Run.
You should. You should do that vocally and publicly. You should. Because any press is good press. That's the way
That's what Trump says. Yeah.
Works for him, man. I mean, I wouldn't exactly consider myself the Donald Trump of the RPG scene, nor Don.
What would that require?
Yeah.
Could you?
You know, because I'm gonna stop. We got to stop that conversation right there because I'm gonna end up talking shit about people I don't mean to talk shit about. And you know, what it would be I would be giving people I don't want to give airtime. You know. So
there we go again, right?
Right.
Master manipulator. Again. All right. Well, so
hey Harley,
what are you listening to these days?
Man, you've clued into my method of like trying to remember what I've been doing by asking other people what they've been doing. That's why I do this show to win, and then I act all like, oh, nobody's gonna ask me, so I better say. And yeah, I'm trying to remember the. What was the name of this band? Fuck, I think Vic Garrison just got me into it, and I can't remember what their name is. Okay, first off, we just watched Stranger Things. You guys told me that Stranger Things, right?
Oh yeah.
That show was fucking awesome, right?
Like,
have you heard the band that did
everything? Demogorgon. Like I've gotten all the memes. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Oh, Harley, you're gonna love it, man. It's like the Goonies meets Silent Hill.
Meets Aliens, meets Fast Times, meets...
there's no Fast Times in this.
There's total Fast Times.
You're full of shit. That's more... That one guy is a little Fast Timesy.
Okay, alright, so you've been watching... What have you been listening to?
So the band that does the theme to that show is a band called Survive, and they're really good. I don't listen. I'm not a big electronic music guy, right? Don can tell you how much I'm not an electronic music guy, and however, I have enjoyed the sound. This stuff sounds like it belongs on the soundtrack of every horror VHS that I rented when I was 15. Like that's what it sounds like. Okay, James Spahn would like to say that it's Steven Spielberg makes the X-Files, which I don't know, James. I don't know that I agree with you there, buddy. That's because I'm not a Stephen King fan. So, but the other thing that I recently got into. We're talking about that later. The other thing I just recently got into, and I gotta say, I think this was because of Vic Garrison. Rosie Finch is a feminist doom metal band from Spain, and they're fucking awesome.
Wow.
They're really good. I got into that recently. Very much enjoying that. So
Rosie Finch.
Rosie Finch.
Okay.
Yep. Good stuff. So don't 2 thumbs
How
up
did you
for
come
me.
across Rosie Finch? Wait, was that no?
I think Vic Garrison just posted it somewhere. It had to have been him. It was either him or Wayne. I don't know. I get all of my music from Vic or Wayne, and that's a pretty safe bet. That's not true. I get it from other sources too, but those guys are great sources. So if you're listening to that, if you're listening to what they're telling you to listen to. Also James McGeorge. He's the other person I get music from. Right. If you ever meet him, tell him to. It was not Vic Garrison. I'm sorry, Victor. I don't know who it was.
Garrison McGeorge. That's okay.
It wasn't James McGeorge. But if James McGeorge ever offers to share a Spotify playlist with you, take him up on it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Hey, Harley, what are you spinning?
Well, I spent an evening talking to Scott Kellogg of G Plus fame a couple nights ago in anticipation. He's working on one of the tournaments at GenCon.
Mm-hmm.
And he also happens to be the current bassist for Zero Boys, and his own band is Ask. They have an album coming out. So anyway, so I've been listening to Scott Kellogg play bass on old punk songs. So cool. I went out and got Vicious Circle, and I've been trying to catch up with that. It's like it's reminiscent of it sounds to me like the Vandals. And then so Ask is more of, it feels like it's more of Scott's heart project. So I'm gonna give that some space and time and listen to it when I'm not distracted and doing 100 different things. But yeah,
right.
I mean,
awesome.
isn't Zero Boys? Isn't that like that's like kind of your country, isn't it? Like
I don't know.
I don't know. It feels like it's
so.
like a
Huh.
like a old punk.
Indianapolis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is kind of. I mean, roughly Midwest. That's about it. You know, we don't claim. We barely claim allegiance to the same country as Indianapolis, Indiana. You know, like
they played Kalamazoo at some point. At some point, they played Kalamazoo.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. You know, many years ago, there's a passage in one of Henry Rollins' book where he talks about Black Flag playing a show in Kalamazoo, where when I was reading this book, I was like, oh, that's the venue I played at last night. And then he was talking about, hey, yeah, the night before, somebody shot their brains out, or blew their brains out next to the, on the wall of the Kmart, at this place. And I was like, oh shit, that's the Kmart I work at. So it was like, yeah, I guess there was a lot of punk going through Kalamazoo back in the day, you know. Hey, Don. Yeah.
Man, I've been scrambling to figure out what this band was that I was listening to, because it was some other freaking language, right? It was kind of like Wardruna, but a little more metally. And I would love to be able to tell you. So I texted a friend. I'm like, hey, what the hell is that band you turned me on to? He's saying it's Korpiklani, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, Korpiklani. Yeah, they're a Finnish folk metal band. They're more folk than metal. They're a lot of fun. They do that happy little boozer song. The happy little boozer. They do that like yelping singing.
That probably
no, that's not it.
If I had heard that.
Those guys are fun. They're kind of they're fun. I like them.
You're kind of bringing more of an Ailstorm than I.
That might just be the way I sang it, Don. Don't freaking judge them by me.
So then I was like, shit. I googled real quick, like, saw bands that are like Wardruna, and I'm like, this is all a bunch of foreign language. But one stands out. I dig this band.
Bands that are like Wardruna are in a foreign language.
Of the Wand and the Moon. You ever check that shit out?
No, but I will. Because I put together the show notes.
Yeah. Drop.
Oh.
What?
Where did you drop? Oh, you dropped it in the Hangout that we...
No,
you don't need to do that.
No, I didn't drop it. Where'd you
put it?
That's not me, Dan.
You said you dropped it.
No, I dropped it.
What the fuck?
I dropped the words, the knowledge.
And
then the mic. And
that was a message. We got a message from Nathan. That's what it was.
Dropping knowledge.
That's what I heard. Yeah. Or his pants, one or the other. All right. Since we're still with Don, how about we talk to Don? Don, what are you reading?
I am just finishing up that Hyperborea.
All right. How does it end for you?
I've read so many of those stories in other collections. But yeah, I mean, I love that stuff. I don't know if I love it as much as the Zothique stuff, really.
I think that's where I'm at. Like, I think there's a poetry to the Hyperborea stuff that's its own. You know, it is very poetic. But I think I like the stories of Zothique just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I said I have to pick my next book just to talk about it. So I think I picked up a whole crap load of those Valentine adult fantasy books, like a really nice little.
Ooh, adult fantasy.
That's what they were, Adam.
I know. I just make that joke every time someone mentions it.
I'm sorry you do that. But this is.
I can't help myself.
I picked out the Well and the Unicorn. Is that Pratt and DeCamp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never read any of that stuff. Although, did I even talk about when we were on our huge break? I read a great L. Sprague de Camp book called The Goblin Tower.
No, tell us about it.
I cannot, because I actually contacted David Beatty and said, hey, you should do this book on your show.
So why the fuck are you talking about it now?
Well, I'm going to cut that out.
You're not going to cut it out. You never cut it out. Everything's always in the show at the end. I know this.
I know, it's too much work.
Editing a podcast is a lot of work, folks.
Is what I'm reading, and I would like to pass the mic to Harley.
Well, I'm reading. I'm going to slaughter the guy's name. Maybe Jeff Manow, A Burglar's Guide to the City. I think might have been Scrap Princess recommended it a couple months back or weeks back. But it's seeing the city through, or the architecture and the infrastructure of a city through the eyes of someone attempting to manipulate said, patterns and infrastructure, for illegal ends. It's been good. I mean, so much of my prep has been for GenCon that I haven't had a ton of time to read, but when I am able to, sneak away for a little bit, that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
Yeah. And yourself, Mr. Miscavige, what have you been reading these days?
Okay, so I promised last episode I'm not going to talk about one of the books that I'm reading until I get farther in it because I talked about it in too many episodes and I'm going to wait. And so right now the only thing that I have been reading that is all game books. So I'm sorry, I'm going to break our you got to be reading something real thing. And I'm going to talk about some of the game stuff I've been reading because I ended up actually reading two different things by the same author at the same time for very different reasons.
You got us hooked.
Yeah, so as we have this conversation, the Lamentations of the Flame Princess bundle of holding is wrapping up. And if you didn't get it, I don't know what's wrong with you. The only reason... I have 90% of the stuff in that, and I still got it because it still added up. The three things I didn't have added up to the amount it would have cost. So fuck, I got it. That, and it goes to help charity, and it really helps. I mean, it does help to put a huge feather in the OSR's cap. Look how much money we raised.
Right.
Ocean World, they're in the top 7 donors of all time right now. It's really, I don't know if they unseated Paranoia, but that would have been really hard to do because Paranoia got a lot of money. But
yeah, I think
they did awesome.
Paranoia was huge. They passed Numenera, and then the Paranoia.
Yeah, who cares? Those guys, Numenera, it's not even a good game. It's not imaginative.
So there's a lot of good money going towards a good cause. And so you
and that's what's awesome about it, and that it's these folks who get all this shit for the work that they do that are raising money for a good cause, and I fucking love that. I'm okay with a little fuck you to on that front. I'm happy for James. But so I'm reading one thing that's in that bundle, which is James Malashevsky's Cursed Manor. Is that Cursed Chateau? Cursed Chateau. And
I believe it's Cursed.
That is really. Oh, my apologies. Cursed Chateau.
Thank you.
It's really good, as you would expect. I mean, it is. It's James doing what we talked about in the last episode, which is a funhouse dungeon, because a haunted house is a funhouse dungeon. It has its own internal logic that doesn't have to go beyond it. And I really wish I'd have read it before we did that episode, because there's all these thoughts that I've had, from reading that, Jim Cox wants to point out that as of this moment in time, there are 7 minutes left on that Lamentations thing. I'm willing to bet that most of the folks here have already signed on. That's cool. If you haven't, 6 viewers. Think about it.
Adam Miscavige, if James beats Paranoia in the next 7 minutes, are you going to write something special for Lamentations? Come on.
Yeah, hell yeah, I will. That'd be awesome. You bet. Absolutely. I will totally get behind that.
All right.
I'll do something. I'll do something for Lamentations.
That's
to the one person who might not have contributed. Yeah, some dude on a podcast is gonna write something.
Oh, come on.
I will say that Lamentations, as a system, there's a while ago I was thinking about using Blueholme for the thing that now I realize would be perfect for Lamentations, which is a German idyllic early Renaissance thing that I was kicking around. The Shadow of the Black Giant. I don't know if you guys read any of those posts, but the idea, long story. So that's one thing by James Malashevsky that I'm reading. Yeah. I wrote it years ago. I mean, it's all relative.
Another thing by James as well.
Oh. Well, not by James. Yeah, by James Malashevsky. Yes, not James Raggi. Yeah. The other thing is I've been reading Dwimmermount.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I have a great idea for how to use it, how I want to use it, what I want to do with it. And it'll probably be after the move. I want to take that, and I want to take Warriors of the Red Planet and Dwimmermount on Mars. That would be a beautiful thing. I've got some thoughts about how to do it, but because it has a very like science fantasy kind of vibe to it anyway. So I just figured let's ratchet that up. So this is also tying into my run spot. So we'll go ahead and we'll say this is future run stuff, right? So that's something that I'm kind of tinkering with. That'll be fun. Okay. So James is totally gonna do it. James Spawn is saying he hasn't contributed yet, but now he is because I'm gonna pony up because I myself will pony up. I will do that. I will. Yeah, we'll do it. Words.
Running.
Okay, so
running.
At the last session of Iron Coast, I announced to the guys that I'm leaving, right? That I'm going to be leaving Ypsilanti, and we decided, or we talked about it. I kind of had already decided. I knew that we were going to do this. I talked to Donn about it, but we're going to actually get to end the campaign.
Oh, wow.
You don't get to do that very often, right? This is a campaign that's been running for 3 years. 3 years.
Dude, that doesn't even exist outside of high school. Congratulations.
I know, right? Wow. So it hasn't fizzled. There's no, we would keep playing, because it's like these really core badass group of guys, including Paul, who's watching, and friend of the show, Mark Donkers. They're the hardcore guys. They're in it to win it. They're having a blast with it. So hey, Nathan's here.
Right.
Shh, yes, be quiet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Shh. Quiet. Don't talk to him.
Is maybe asleep?
So he's got to catch up. So we'll give him to the rest of the show, and then we'll introduce him next show. So we're getting to wrap that up to a degree, and the game might continue like as an online game after that. But don't know yet. Don't know what the plans are. But
are you at a place where there's going to be this huge climactic like?
Oh yeah. What's really fun is that I get to bring back stuff that they fucked with in the first adventure, like the very first fucking dungeon they went in. They're now having to deal with stuff that they set, like cogs that they set in motion, like 3 years ago when we started the game.
Congratulations!
So I'm really pleased with it. Yeah,
that's super exciting.
So Harley, yes, what are you running? I know you're running to GenCon. And so there's going to be some running. No, what else are you running?
No, I just last night I was with my friends. So there's now. They're all growing older. There's an 8th grade, 3 8th graders, now a 5th grader, their dad who's a lawyer, and a boy that's just now entering kindergarten. Who rolls the dice? The rule is if the dice goes off the table, it's naturally a 1. So we punish all the kids that are just hurling dice.
Nice.
I was running a playtest of a war game we're going to be running at GenCon, Warlords of the Purple Planet. And it was so much fun, dude. Like every game needs to be run for children. Like I don't know. I sit down with these guys. We run the games, and I don't know. It's just like all the G plus drama, everything just evaporates, and it's like, oh yeah, here's what we're here for, we're marching our little guys across the wastes of the ravaged purple planet, and I don't know what we got these kids at the right age or something, but their characters die, their armies die, and they're down. Like they're totally down. I would take these kids and put them up against anybody because they're just like they're up to roll new character, like the next thing's and they're in it. It's not like, oh, I have 100 0-level characters. I don't care if Joe the cheesemaker dies. They're in it, and then but they have that I don't know, that upright character that allows them to roll up a new character. No tears are shed. Let's move on to the next one.
Rolls right off their back, man.
That's just amazing, dude. It's wonderful. I left that. You leave a good game just like stoked, right? You're just like on fire. Mm-hmm. You're exhausted, but your head is just like ablaze. You just you get flames coming out your ears, and it was one of those sessions, and it was just because I got to play with these guys, and and so what we're doing at GenCon is we're running a tournament, but for all intents and purposes, it continues to be a playtest, and so to nail down some of the mechanics with the kids last night, and to take that forward is, I don't know. Yeah, I consider myself very, very, very fortunate, and everybody should run games for kids. In addition to whatever group you're running, find a 12-year-old somewhere and run a game for them. Yeah, so
not just anywhere. Do not just find a 12-year-old anywhere.
there's that.
Because then you'll get accused of the stuff we're going to talk about in the second half of the show.
Hey, nice segue. I was in a couple. It was last week. I was down in Denver. I was with a friend, and he's been trying to get me hyped up about the Tarvada skate park, which is beautiful. It's just gorgeous. It's just like alien sculptures. It's all skatable, and so he was hanging out there taking photos of it to send me, and he's approached by some mom because he's taking photos, and she thinks he's taking the kids,
yeah.
He's taking photos of the 9-year-olds when really it's like, no, we're interested in your half pipe, but there's definitely there's a threshold there for sure. But
that's funny.
Yeah, find a dad who wants to game and bring his kids along, and you will never regret it. But you guys all know that.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I ramble.
No.
That was right. So Don Stroud, what are you running these days, man?
It's only been 2 weeks since we last recorded, so I have not run since then, but the last thing I ran was Dungeon Crawl Classics. Doing a little homebrew stuff.
Is this the same game that you started over the winter?
Yeah.
How's that going? Now, how many did they ever get second level? Because I know that was a big story.
Oh, they're so close, man. They're so close.
They're still not there.
No, but right now they're playing this adventure that I wrote a couple months ago, and then took to Origins and had a little play test with some people I was staying with, and they all loved it. So it's gonna be fun to. I don't usually get to see two people play through one of my things, like two different. Thanks. So it's gonna be cool.
So, and I apologize because just my memory is is a year and a half old at this point.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke, there was the question of world paralysis, because Don wanted to lay out
You're so good. You're so good, Harley.
Yeah.
You remember. I don't remember all of them.
They're all online right now. I got to remember something.
Right.
But you're there was the overarching monomyth, that dictated where the cities were and blah 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 blah, down to the minutiae. How is that working out with the game you're running now?
I'm not doing that at all. I'm doing more of an Adam, or just a what is it? Top down. I just started with a section.
Or bottom up. Bottom up. It's the other way. Top down is what you normally do, Don.
Top down is what I do. Adam does bottom up.
I do sideways,
Don starts with the sun. And
He did!
Down.
Hey, Nathan's here! Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Panke has joined us. Now officially because he's spoken. Yeah. Hey, Harley, can I burst in real quick? Harley, Richie Singler wants to know, do you have any advice for running games for kids?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Because I am, so I've always been very trepidatious about. The advice is kids are way tougher than we give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably more emotionally resilient than most adults. I would say take your favorite adventure, something you're super excited about, go at it slowly, and read the kid's emotional response, and I bet you'll feed off them because they'll be into stuff and they'll be doing things that no adult would ever do, and gauging from there you'll be able to determine. But they're tough. Kids are awesome. I would have no issue running sailors for my kids. I think probably So last year, one of my kids was a fourth grader. One of my players was a fourth grader, and for him, the attention span of it—that's probably the limiter. Like 2 hours of a game. The kid was exhausted by the end of the game. But now, he's in fifth grade and he's just down to run. So, shorter sessions with stuff you're passionate about. Let them, kind of dictate the game by what they're interested in, and they'll and you'll have a great time. I don't know. What is that? Does that ring true for you guys?
That sounds awesome. Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that rings true for not just kids though, for folks who are getting into gaming too. Folks who aren't already crazy fired up. That's a great way to get them fired up. Get them do something that you're excited about. Geez, Harley, I'm just going to reiterate you. So, yeah, something that you're excited about, and keep it to a short burst. And then they want more. They didn't get to the point where they got bored with it, or got tired with it, or wanted to be doing something else. And then when it's done, they want to come back and do it again. I think that goes for not just kids, right. Adults too. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you think back to our original games, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure with you guys it's the same way. You were 8 or 9, and and some adult ran Caves of Chaos or whatever for you, and just going down that corridor, falling down that pit, dying to the rats with disease, blew your mind. And we our tendency is, because we're good people, is to is kind of to coddle and protect these kids, but they can totally take it. You're not going to be a jerk to them, but yeah, I don't know. Like Panke, you must run games for kids. What do you do?
Yes. I have 2 children that I run games for, but actually all last year, almost every other week, I was running a game for preteens, teens at the Ferguson Library up in St. Louis. So I was running a game for them, and honestly, Harley said it, find the thing that makes them excited. Find the thing that is exciting them, and the biggest thing with my kids is trying to get them, my daughter to play more than 7 characters at the same time.
Wait,
more than 7 or fewer than 7?
Well, fewer than 7. Sorry. Fewer than 7. My daughter wants to play, the whole catalog of Disney princesses and use all of their special abilities.
Has that been done yet? Is there a Disney princess funnel? Which princess survives?
Actually, what's his name? My brain's not working right now.
Dana Bishop.
No, not Dana Bishop.
Or do we get that name?
Oh yeah, James Walls. James August Walls.
Yep. And he's did that where he did a funnel with all the Disney princesses. But my daughter, she's been obsessed with Elsa for the last 3 years. So yeah, I would say keep it short, sweet, and simple. And honestly, I was playing with my kids, I did an even more stripped down version of Swords and Wizardry. Even more stripped down. Meaning just, D20, D6, really simple, and just going with the story.
Searchers of the Unknown, that kind of thing.
Actually, what's funny is I was just for a funeral. I was just in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, and my nieces and nephews, I have 4 nieces and nephews, and I brought that new, whatever you think about it, don't really care, the new Monty Cook game, the No Thanks You Evil.
Oh, yeah. How's that?
You know what? My kids love it.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Totally.
That's all that matters, man.
Oh, no. I played with my other 3 nieces and nephews that ranged, I think, from 10 to about 5. So I had 2 5-year-olds, 2 7-year-olds, and a 10-year-old. And, wow. Man, they loved it. And the 3 kids had never played any games with me before. And honestly, because of the next subject we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Is the reason why. Sure. Because of their parents. But we played the game, and we played for maybe an hour, and afterwards, the parents thanked me because it kept their kids out of their hair while they were trying to pack.
Well, you think about the experience of a child. You spend all day long being told not to do stuff by the adults in your life, right?
Exactly.
And so you get to sit down and have imagination time where you can do anything, and that's just got to be so intoxicating. Well, I'm 30 years removed from it now, but what a gift for a child to be able to determine their own fate. Perhaps their character dies, no problem, just bring in a new one.
Yep.
But just that no adult is going to be telling them, no, get your hands off the burner. No, stop touching. It's like, no, pull that lever. See if I can.
Well,
and what a gift to these kids to be able to, partake of that experience.
Well, and it's funny because, you talked about, adults running a game for you, and my first game was run by a 13-year-old. And so I feel like I feel like I was way more restrained than I would be as a 30-plus, almost 40-year-old, running for a child, where I was very hands-off, meaning, hey, there is a nest. What's in the nest?
Right.
The raccoons. The kid goes, raccoons. What kind of raccoons? Well, they're purple. And what other color? They're blue. But they're not made out of animals. What are they made out of? And the kid goes, cotton candy. Exactly. They're cotton candy, blue and purple, raccoons.
Roll for initiative.
Exactly.
Nice.
And they loved it. They thought it was the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. Kids are incredible to run games for. Their imaginations are amazing.
I think it's a testament, to the I don't know, to GenCon and the people that Doug taps to run games. But these it's being run at a bar at 8 o'clock to like midnight, and the games are essentially totally kid friendly. You could throw a 10-year-old.
And we often do. I mean, Jim Scatch's kids have been in every.
Grown up at DCC tables, and and Job's daughter last year, Nina. She was playing like all this. It's a testament to the judges, and then you throw a kid in there, and it's like the adults are still going to have fun, the kids still going to have fun. I don't know. It's
Laserfish.
Exactly.
Can I be a beehive? Yes, you can, Nathan. You can be a beehive. No problem.
No. He was a sentient bee. He was a sentient.
Oh, I thought you were the whole hive. Beehive, yeah.
I was.
Oh, just a swarm.
He was a sentient bee swarm, and I just pulled a Kovacs. That was Braun. That was come on, he's up your area. David Braun.
Who? What?
Come on, my brain's not working.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Well, guys, we're gonna stop here because we're no. Nate, don't apologize for anything, Nathan. We got another show to record.
Nathan Panke, come on.
Yeah. Nathan, what are you drinking?
Go.
I am drinking Prairie Artisan Ale. It's from Oklahoma. It's called Pirate Bomb. It is this beer. They don't really make it that much of it, but it's an imperial stout aged in rum barrels with coffee, cocoa nibs, vanilla beans, and chilies. And it is 14%, and it is rocking my world at this moment.
Whoa! Yeah. Okay, what are you spinning?
I am over half done at this point since I've been on.
What are you spinning?
Okay, what are you spinning?
Okay, spinning. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. MJ, Michael Jackson. I've been spinning nonstop MJ. Mostly because I've been in this real recording kick. I've gotten a couple requests to produce and record a couple artists here in St. Louis because that's one of my other jobs that I do, and one of the other things that I do. And so I've been really listening to number one, good albums, and MJ is one, and yeah, awesome. And then I will say the last book that I read, I've mostly been reading recording books, but the last book that I read Felicia Day's autobiography. And you know what? She's my age, and she had a lot of the same experiences I did as a child, except her parents were hippies. But pretty much exactly the same.
Like which one stands out?
People might not know this about me, but same sort of thing. I was homeschooled. I was schooled at home, and I graduated when I was 16 and went to college as a 16-year-old, just like her. And there was
a child genius.
Yeah, I'm not a genius adult, but I was.
He's exactly like a child genius.
I am exactly like a child. I am literally a genius if I was 5.
What are you running? What are you running?
You know what? I have not been running a weekly game, but I actually just got back 2 weeks ago from GenCon, and I ran a bunch of stuff. I ran Star Wars: Edge of the Empire. I ran some DCC, Black Powder, Black Magic.
Oh,
I ran
nice.
I ran a play test for a game that I'm hoping that Eric and Carl, they've been saying they want to publish it. But I'll just tell you what it's called. It's called Mississippi Queen of the Damned.
Very cool.
And it's all set on a steamboat.
Right,
riverboat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ran a bunch of stuff. Having fun, running a bunch of games. I will say my highlight of CantCon though was getting to play in Alan Grove's Aliens big diorama.
That thing is so beautiful.
It's so
I don't know how he transports it. Like it's massive.
You should see it. He has boxes, and the boxes take up a 4 by 7 foot area. So 4 by 4 by 7 foot. Because he had it right behind the table, and I was like, Alan, like you could have brought more books. And he's like, yeah, but you wanted to play Aliens.
Right. So like John Hirschberger is bringing all the stock that they're going to sell, and Alan's bringing Aliens.
Exactly. Yeah. Alan had like 1 box of actual sellable material.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for indulging us, Adam.
Yeah. No, please. Absolutely. I'm glad Nathan made it for the lightning round. So I want to thank all of our gorgeous listeners. I want to thank our viewers at home. I want to thank my lovely co-host, Mr. Don Stroud. And I also want to thank you guys, Nathan Panke and Harley Stroh. My video is really funky right now. I've been having some bandwidth issues here. But I do also need to make a quick shout out to our patrons on Patreon. And so I want to thank Tim Callahan, Myth Horde, Michael Jones, Keith Nelson, and Forrest Gary. It's not supposed to be pronounced like the Werner Herzog film. But I want to thank you guys for continuing to support us. We really appreciate everybody's support. And guys, we'll see you in just a few. Next time we have Nathan Harley on the show, we're going to be talking about the Satanic Panic. Those of you who are listening at home, it's next week. Those of you who are watching, it'll be just in a moment. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night, gorgeous listeners.
All of them are gorgeous.
Okay,
Holy cow.
go ahead and you can hit stop, and then we'll export, and we'll take our bio break and shit. Hey, Nathan, I don't know if you guys saw, but there's some chatter here from Dan and Richie and Gabriel.
Oh, Gabriel, I love.
Yeah,
Gabriel.
it is Q&A. Did you see that stuff? Yeah, put that up.
Okay. I
love Gabriel.
Gabriel, I'm not gonna lie, you're one of my favorite people.
Did you guys? Did you hear his intro to the last episode that we posted?
Yes.
It was so here's the story behind that. Do you guys know the story with Gabriel's voice and Eric Jensen's wife?
No.
Yeah. So Eric Jensen, the Wampus Country Eric Jensen, right?
Yep.
Gabriel played in Wampus Country once, and because of Gabriel's accent, right, and deep bassy voice, his wife, Eric Jensen's wife, overheard and said, "Who's that guy? I really like his voice. That's sexy." So that's why we had Gabriel record an intro. Gabriel did it. I didn't even ask him to do it. He just did it, But Gabriel wants to let you know that he's been running first edition, like just one DM, one player for his network. He's running a full party all by himself, like you do. And
uh-oh, he did it.
We lost him.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So let's go to Dan Dom. So Dan Dom.
I'm here.
Yeah, just stop, Adam. So Dan, if you're still there,
We good?
any advice for getting girls into gaming? Just literally find the thing that she likes. Find the thing she's into. My daughter is into Disney princesses, so everybody is Disney princesses. Plain and simple. Find the thing they like.
Yeah, 'cause you can make anything work with young kids, right?
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not lying. Today, this afternoon, I played my son because I have the Edge of the I have the Imperial Assault Star Wars board game.
Yeah.
The board game, and we don't play by the rules at all. We just use the map and the little minis. And
Right.
you know what? I just say, Jed, build a map, and we'll play the story out. And sometimes we use dice, and sometimes we don't. And I'll go, hey, what sounds cool? What's cool, and we'll just go with it.
Yeah.
And he's he loves he calls it little men. He loves playing little men.
That's really sweet.
That's what he calls it. And he'll be 7 in like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's insane.
Congratulations, dude.
I know, it's insane. But he told me, and he goes, Dad, I want to have a little men birthday party.
So Don, how old are your kids now? Like they're older, right?
15 and 12.
Dude.
They're only 21.
Yeah. Son is 15, daughter's 12. We do a lot of board games. My daughter not so much. My son was playing AD&D like when he was 10 and 11 with someone else and that whole like group of homeschool kids. But yeah, so he always wants to play DCC. I did start running him through The One Who Watches from Below, and he was enjoying it. But it was just him. He had four 0 and 1 first level mix. He killed them all.
He'll learn. He'll learn to not do stupid things. I mean, honestly, like, you know what? Like, DCC, 0 level funnels, like, the thing that I love about role-playing games, specifically 0 level, is its failure in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Meaning, I can make bad decisions, and it does not matter. Like, my daughter hates that her character dies, but I said, like, sweetheart, it's just a character. Like, you're not feeling, unless you have, like, incredible empathy, like,
right.
You're not feeling, you're not feeling the pain of your character dying. I'm like, learn to fail well, and learn to fail in an environment where it's really not going to matter.
I think I might have. Hello. I think I might have fixed my connection issues, so
all right,
I think we're good.
Yeah, 14.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed.
This is like a bottle of wine in freaking 12 ounces.
I haven't had the pirate bomb, but I've had the bomb and the birthday bomb, and they're really good.
Holy cow! It's rum. It's like an imperial stout, but it's a rum barrel instead of a.
I totally love rum.
Like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, James, dude, I love James.
I'm gonna go
Spawn.
pee.
I'm not gonna lie. James Spawn's the man.
I still love James Spawn, but I'm gonna pee.
Don't. Yeah, those completely separate thoughts. Your love for James Spawn should have nothing to do with you peeing. Just gonna say. Hi, I'm back. So Katie was teaching Stan how to eat graham crackers, dunking them in milk, and he apparently got the dunking part.
Hey,
he got the dunking part down, but not the getting it back and out. He was dropping them in there. He was letting it soak, and then boop, letting him swim.
Adam, I'm gonna tell you a secret.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Not many people know this, but the man who invented graham crackers, Dr. Graham, you can look this up. The man who invented graham crackers.
Okay.
He invented them. Do you know why he invented them?
I know. I'm so excited to learn.
He invented them to stop boys from touching themselves.
What?
Look it up.
That works so well. What?
You are so
man.
Graham crackers were invented to stop self-love.
What?
Look it up. Look it up.
Are you awarded a graham?
I'm not. I'm just gonna.
Not lying.
I'm not sure I want to believe this. Wow.
No.
I want to believe it, so it's true. That's what we learned from Newt Gingrich this last week, right?
No, because of the.
What was his reasoning? Why would a graham cracker? Why would a s'more stop me from touching myself?
Dude, I read a book, and it was this whole thing about Dr. Graham and his gosh, I'm trying to think of the exact phrase that they called it, because they called it not fluid loss, but it was like life loss. But they literally.
Oh, was it like an orgone? Was it like an orgone theory thing?
No, because he was a fundamentalist. So basically, he believed that anytime semen left your body, that a little piece of you died. So he invented graham crackers to keep boys from their semen releasing their body.
How? I don't understand. Nothing prevents you from like having a graham cracker in one hand and going to town with the other. I don't get it. That's not a two-handed food. Maybe the guy who invented pizza, if that was his rationale, I'd understand that. Or like Philly cheesesteak, something you need two hands to eat.
A Philly cheesesteak for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that guy totally invented the food so people wouldn't masturbate while they're eating the food. I understand that. But graham crackers.
Yes, James.
That's.
James.
Don't.
All right.
Look what James said.
He loves Nathan and he doesn't have to pee.
No, the next one.
So, hey. What, the next one? Oh, I haven't got that yet. Oh.
Yes,
Yeah. Remind me never, if I ever go to James's house,
never to eat the graham
touch
crackers.
the graham crackers.
Right.
Never go camping with James Spawn. You don't want to. I mean, that hides in the s'more really well.
Yeah, they
this
had
is
a game.
Terrible conversation.
There was a game like that in Boy Scouts that another troop played. I remembered, and it was horrible.
Huh.
It was something like
Sounds
that.
pretty terrible.
It probably was graham crackers.
Hey Nathan, I've got notes. How cool is that?
Oh, buddy!
I know that.
You know what?
I know.
You might need them.
I don't need them because you're here.
You might need them because I'm drinking this freaking pirate bomb.
Hey, are we ready to rock?
Okay, hold on. Let me start recording. Tell me when.
All right.
Yeah, it'll be on one.
Yeah, it'll be on one. I'll count 3, 2, 1, but don't do it then.
Is it on one?
It's on one.
Go.
On one.
On
3,
one,
2, now.
Now, yeah. So I'm gonna count down, and we're gonna do it.
I thought it was the
Harley, are you ready?
Well, I just hit it on now. Okay, let's go.
I did too.
Don, I was
okay. I'll press
Adam
stop. I'll press stop. Let's start again.
Let's
start again.
I'm.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
3, 2.
Yes.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Drink Spin Run. Did you not say one?
He didn't say one.
He didn't even say the one.
It's such a dick.
I said one, and somebody with a loud mouth was like, yes. And
I pressed it on the space that was one.
Let's just go. Let's just go with this. And this will be like the intro chatter. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
Don,
yeah.
Don, you get to edit, Don.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, and gorgeous listeners of all stripes, welcome back for another excellent episode of Drink Spin Run, or maybe it won't be. But tonight. We're having fun tonight. We're here with my lovely co-host. I'm sorry, I'm Adam Miskevich, and with me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Don Stroud. Don, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm Don Stroud.
That's how he's doing. It's his name, and it's how he's doing. And he's dreading the editing job he's going to have to do tonight. All right. I'm going to answer a couple of questions before we move forward. The first is, who are our guests? And that is, of course, Harley Stroh of Goodman Games fame, and Nathan, the spiciest DM, Panke. And Dan Domi asks, why is Nathan the spiciest? I invite you, Dan, to take a trip back in DSR history and listen to the episode where Nathan tried to teach us how to play Fate. And he is the spiciest, I assure you, and you'll find out why in that episode. It was one of those things. It was such a perfect little soundbite. I had to use it at the end of the episode. And but tonight, that's not what we're here to talk about. Tonight, we're here to talk about the Satanic Panic. I know we all had to deal with the Satanic Panic growing up, or at least those of us who are here. And this is one of those topics I was like, I want to get Harley Stroh and Nathan Panke on the same episode, because I think at some point we're going to create a strange giggle feedback loop where Nathan's infectious laughter will cause Harley to laugh, which will cause Nathan to laugh, which will, I think it can happen. We're going to have a total meltdown at some point. It's already getting started. Because you guys both have very distinctive and fun laughs, and I wanted to hear that at some point. But tonight we're gonna talk about the same, and that was really it. It was like I want Harley on I got Harley on the Stroh. Harley on the Stroh. That's what I said. Harley on the show, and who can I put with Harley? Nathan. We're gonna talk about the Satanic Panic, and so I had to ask Harley. Harley, are you cool to talk about that? And Harley said, of course, yes. That's what got you into D&D. And so we're going to start with Harley. Is that okay if we start with you? We're going to start with your story about how the Satanic Panic got you into D&D.
Oh, the Satanic Panic was the best thing that came to D&D for me. So there I was. I was 8 years old. My brother was 6, and we had a babysitter, as young children want to have. Mm-hmm. And in order to occupy our time, he came and he ran us through Caves of Chaos, and as we mentioned in the last episode, you know, I died 15 feet in, fell down the pit, the diseased rats ate me, and I was, like, honestly, I was hooked for life. Advance 1 week, he's supposed to come back and babysit us again, but unfortunately, his parents have discovered that D&D is satanic, and so he's not allowed to come back and babysit for us any longer, and this is his parents, and moreover, they've decided that he needs to destroy all his D&D books. I think it was Mold Day.
Wow. Yeah.
Rather than destroy them, he sets into motion a 30-year character arc by delivering them to me, hands off. The basic book, the expert book, Caves of Chaos, and Isle of Dread. And I inherited his collection of books that he wasn't willing to destroy, and you know, it would have been the easiest thing for him, just like, you know, to get along with his parents, toss them in the trash, but instead he chose to, you know, to give them a big finger and snuck them over to my house, and I still have those books to this day.
Nice.
But Mr. Panke, how did the Satanic Panic influence your early interaction with Dungeons & Dragons?
Well, okay, so the first thing that people probably do not know, but, I mean, if you know me, you know.
Or if you listened to the last episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, people...
Those people.
No,
they might know.
I'm saying the people that actually know me, I mean, as an individual, not just as Nathan.
Like biblically know you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, my wife knows me.
Like those graham crackers, right? Yeah.
Right.
But I've actually been in full-time ministry for the last 14 years. So I'm an ordained, like, I have papers, you know, not over the internet papers. Like, I have real papers. You know, I mean, I know lots of people that are, you know, have their reverency or whatever. They're
like
ordained.
Your job, right?
Yeah, that's my job. So yeah. So I've been in, like, full-time Christian, you know, fundamental world for the last 14 years. And so when I grew up, my parents were very fundamental, like very, 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 you know, not to say there was a demon hiding under every rock, but a lot of the time that was kind of the way it was. And I remember, you know, my first encounter with role-playing games in general was I was maybe 12 years old, and around 12 I was at a Boy Scout camp, and I remember really getting into the first game I ever played with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
you and me, man.
Beautiful.
Which then led me to Palladium, anything. So I got into all the Palladium stuff, and I remember my parents, my mom or dad found one of the books. You know, because I had them when I was a kid. They found them. And
that Palladium stuff, man.
If you were going to be into
seriously
real magic. So.
Well, yeah, Palladium RPG. Yeah, that was some shit, man.
It was craziness, and you know, I'm 12 years old, so you know.
Well, you're being homeschooled too, right? So it's not like you can like sneak it out at recess.
No. This is definitely not sneaking. This is at home. Like I have it, you know, under my pillow or something like that. And, you know, because I know, hey, my parents are kind of crazy. They're not going to be able to be cool with this. But at the same time, like, I remember as soon as they found it, I remember having a one-on-one sit-down with the pastor of our church, who happened to be my uncle.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. Where'd you grow up in, like, Mississippi? I mean, what is this?
What's that?
Where'd you grow up?
In Missouri, St. Louis.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, like, a little north of the Bible Belt, but still. And so I remember having I probably had 6 or 7 sit-downs. I mean, literally 6 or 7s, and there was probably 2 or 3 bonfires, like pushed on me bonfires. And, I remember one time I had gotten a Pierce Anthony book from somebody, and they found the Pierce Anthony book, and they were like, what is this? But this is the dichotomy, and this is the funniest thing. The dichotomy was the same people that were like, hey, this is crazy stuff, were the same people that were like, you can watch Beastmaster as a 10-year-old. Were the same people that were, Big Trouble Little China. I mean, I saw that right when it came out. All this stuff, like the craziest stuff. It was so funny in that, I remember, people talking about, exercising. I hear stories about people exercising the books. Like, oh, we're
right. You throw them into the bonfire and the DMG as you burn it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I have had those first-time experiences. But, what's funny is, I grew up, and, even as I got older and older, I was still playing RPGs. I was still playing D&D, and the truth is, it's like the pastor that's like my boss now. The guy who's my boss is like, wow, you're really, you're connecting with kids, you're doing this. And he says it from the church, like, hey, this guy Nathan is doing this stuff with these kids, and, you guys need to find the thing that you're, good at so that you can, really, impact this, the people that, just you need to connect with them. And this is a way he can connect with them.
Is it still a part of your ministry today? Like, are you so they get out of Sunday school and they go run some dice with you, or?
No, not really, but still, like I'm just saying from the pulpit, he's like, hey, Nathan runs this gaming club. You guys need to be like him.
Wow.
But like I said, that's
cool, man.
It's come a long way in 20 plus years.
Don. Don, I know that you had when you were growing up, you had some limitations placed on you, right?
Yeah, I didn't even get to play it because it wasn't like some magical scenario like I got to play then it was taken away. It was just like, no, it's evil. So I don't even.
How did you first hear about it then? Like what was your cultural brush with role-playing games?
So I always read like crazy, like 4th grade reading sci-fi fantasy, and I met this guy. His name was Mark.
Was he an adult?
No, he was in my.
Was it in a park at night? Was he in a van?
He was in a.
Did he offer you candy?
No.
Yes, or the DMG.
So my friend Mark had the Menser book. So that's like the first one I ever saw, which is why it's still my favorites.
It's good, man.
So like I was reading that at his house. I'm like, man, this is great. You could actually like be in these books that we read and we talk about. So we tried to play with a friend whose name is John Smith. I didn't change that. That's his real name. So he was such an idiot. Have you ever made someone play a game they didn't want to play and they just do like the most obnoxious dumb stuff?
Yep, one of my best friends to this day. He still will never play again.
Yeah, so we're like a half hour and then we quit. And this was like freshman high school. Like I had not played until then. And that was my one brush with. Well,
didn't you do other things to get around that? Didn't you like do Star Frontiers or something like that? Or am I making that up? Why am I?
No, I don't.
You didn't do Star Frontiers?
No, I didn't do. As far as
where did I get that idea?
I don't know. As far as I still am concerned, there's only one RPG game. It's like D&D, and it's cast-offs.
So all right. So you played once. It was a mixed experience. When did you manage to come back and? Why are you doing an RPG podcast? How did it come back around? Like at some point you had.
John, why are you quiet most of the podcast? That's what he's trying to figure out.
This is why he's really just here for the technical expertise.
I don't have the energy to butt in the whole show.
This was even worse for Dodd because all of us.
Lay back and let it come to me, you know. In probably in '95, I was living a block away from this used bookstore, and he had like this immaculate first edition book, and the player's guide, and the DMG book, and the monster, so I picked it all up, and he had like the Warhammer first edition book. I picked that up, so I just started buying all those because I'm like, I lived on my own then. I graduated high school in '92, and I went through my whole like music phase, and I was living with my friend and just buying all these freaking books, and then I'm like, hey, I should run this.
So you basically skipped the Satanic Panic by your parents not letting you play. You were a victim.
Because I was a victim. Yeah. So whenever these people are telling the stories about how when they were kids, even watching Stranger Things, I'm like, oh, that must have been fun to be a kid.
It must have been fun.
It must have been.
So, Mr. Miscavige, what was how did Satanism impact your early RPG experience?
Well, I had been playing D&D for a while, not knowing that there was supposed to be any Satanism, whatever, until I moved to northern Indiana. That's when I learned that the game I had been playing for a few years was really satanic. Evil. So, like the fruits of the devil, yes.
The devil? Wasn't that interesting?
When I was 8, I got my copy of the Mensa Red Box. My grandparents found it at a garage sale. Hey, buddy.
God bless your grandparents.
Outside the door. But and they're like, hey, this is like that cartoon you like. Here's the thing. Awesome, And I was totally into the cartoon at the time,
Dude, the cartoon. I watched it.
Oh yeah.
Well, it fed into all the shit I was growing up in, My dad read me Chronicles of Narnia, and The Hobbit, and said, "Here, you should read this," and had me read The Lord of the Rings on my own. By the time I was 8, and he was like, "Here, just read all the time, and it's going to be great for you." And so the sci-fi, the fantasy, I didn't really see a line between it, and it was fun. And then D&D comes into my life, and everything changes. I will say, before I moved to Indiana and experienced like institutional Satanic Panic, I did experience some in my house. It wasn't really Satanic Panic, but it was the result of Palladium RPG, because they used drugs in there. Like there were,
yes, they did.
Specifically the Adventures on the High Seas introduced a bunch of narcotics into the game, and my mom saw that. She's like, Can you still play the game and skip this part? And I said, yes. Okay, well then just leave out the drugs, okay? No problem. And that was the most shit I ever got from my parents.
Adam.
That front.
My mom took an X-Acto knife and cut that part out of it.
Oh, come on.
Wow. Did she also cut out the Diabolists, like magic circles and stuff?
Well, yes.
Right.
Duh.
Right.
No, that's a given. I'm saying the other stuff.
Okay.
So half of the games I played didn't have half the game.
Aww.
And you
That's
never missed.
awesome.
Right.
And people wonder why I'm so bad with the rules.
Well, when I moved to Indiana, when I was 12, 13. I guess I was not yet 13, and so like just as like the Stranger Things part of my life was beginning, I was suddenly learning that what I was doing I shouldn't be doing, which I guess for some people inspires a "I guess I won't do it" response.
Yeah.
But then there's people like me where my response was "fuck you," I moved into Goshen. Hi, Stan. I moved to Goshen, Indiana, which is a tiny little Mennonite town in the northern part of Indiana. And you think Mennonites, right? They're like the chill version of Amish people. Let me tell you, when it's I don't care what religion it is, when you have a dominant religious community and someone from the outside comes in and there's anything that they can do to knock you down, they'll do it. So first off, I was raised Catholic. I was Polish. and I played D&D, so I had a bunch of strikes against me when I fucking got there.
Same child. Yeah.
Well, I was also tall and fat, so that helped too. I was the tallest kid in my grade, and I was not quite the fattest kid in my grade, but I was big. So there's all of that. But so when I moved to Indiana, there were kids who weren't allowed to hang out with me, and I had to take my pick as to why they weren't allowed to hang out with me. Was it because I played D&D? Was it because I was Polish? Was it because I was Catholic? Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things. Any one of them, just choose. Yeah. So but that was a formative experience. The outcastiness. I was a fucking geek because I was a geek. I was 12, 13 years old. I don't fucking know about things clothes and dumb shit like that.
There's a difference between being a geek where you run under the undercurrent, and then there's the one that's you can't go over to his house. And those are two.
Yeah.
And that happened. That definitely happened.
And you're having the this mom is talking shit about me, and I don't even know why. Experience that's tough on
this mom who I don't know, because their son's friend heard something.
Yeah, there's an adult out there that thinks I'm bad news. Is there something inherent in it? And so, how did you? Were you already far enough along you could just say, fuck it, or was there some reconciliation? Because that's a terrible thing to put on a kid.
There wasn't any reconciliation on that, and ultimately, I always knew I was awesome, so fuck those people who didn't realize it. And I'll admit, not every person can go through that the way I did. Not everybody has the "fuck you, I'm badass," Right. And that was mine. People every once in a while I do hear, "Oh, you think you're so awesome," or whatever. "Oh, you think you're stuck up," or whatever. Let me tell you, I had to learn really hard when I was a kid not to take other people seriously, and to right, because especially with geeks growing up, you've got all this weight against you already, and when there's when religious institutions are telling you that what you're doing is wrong and bad, there's so many different ways you can go about it. And the way I chose to deal with it was to just realize these people are really fucking stupid. If they're, if they're this dumb,
ignorance. It's ignorance. It's not.
It is, right?
That's the fear, is they don't know. That's the
fear. And thinking that not knowing is enough, Yeah. So hey, let's talk for a second. James Spahn brings up this point about the 60 Minutes thing, the Satanic Panic thing from '83, which features Gary, and you can find us online. We will have a link to it in the show notes when those occur. I'm pointing downward like people do on YouTube. It's not going to be down there. It's going to be in our show notes.
Subscribe.
Click the links. It's over there.
Like us.
The thing that bugs me the most about that is when they call the notes the doobly-doo. It's what the fuck? You can't say notes. There's some reason doobly-doo is shorter than notes. Just say the notes below. It's.
I don't know, man. There's a lot more.
Sorry, editorial over.
Yeah, it's gone too far. Okay.
So I will say. Right. So did I have a question? Right. So James mentions that we could talk about the Satanic Panic starting with Dallas Egbert or Patricia Pulling, but Nathan and I were talking.
Yeah.
Nathan and I were talking about this earlier today, and Nathan actually brought up a fucking awesome point that made me do some research. And Nathan's like, do you want me to do research? I know this stuff. Do you want me to? And I'm willing to bet that Nathan's probably one of the most well-educated people I know on this topic. But Nathan mentioned the book Selling Satan.
Mike Warnicki.
Yeah. So there's this Christian comedian, which is a thing. And he basically made a career out of pretending to have been a Satanist.
Yep.
And in many ways, it seems like. Really? That's hilarious.
No, there's several. No, the other guy, just finish and I'll butt it.
All right.
Okay, you're tripping.
Yeah. So because that's Nathan sent me on this track, which sent me down like a Wikipedia and other
He was the first in
websites
1972. He was the first one.
Yeah, so this guy comes up with this. Oh, I was a Satanist, and then I went to Vietnam, and I had a battlefield conversion, and now let me tell you all the shit that Satanists are up to. Thing is, this guy was never a Satanist.
Nope.
He never did any of the shit that he says he did, and he's been thoroughly debunked. And he had about 20 years of like this crazy career of being a comedian talking about Satan worship, and
what.
He deliberately misled. And again, it'll be in the show notes. But he deliberately misread 2 generations of fundamentalists on this course. So hold on just a sec. I need to fix something. Nope, I can't. Never mind. I got a baby monitor in here, and Katie's watching something in the other room, and so there's a little bit of background noise. Anyway, so. I think that the Satanic Panic actually, in some ways, predates D&D.
And I've met him.
Right.
Yeah, it's 1972. So in 1972, there was a comedian who he thought of himself. He was a comedian, but he felt himself to be a public speaker, and he wrote a book in 1972 called "Selling Satan." And he basically said that he was over a coven, he was a Satanist, he was a high priest. But you know what? There's another guy as well, which was Bill Schneblin. William Schneblin is another guy, and he's one of the
great
ones
name.
William Schneblin is on Chick Tracks, and William Schneblin is the one who says setting you straight on D&D, and he's done 2 different articles on Chick Tracks specifically. And he talks about how he's been in the Wicca. He's been a high priest in Satanic Temple. All this stuff, and basically he's also been shown to be a liar, basically. But he talks about how he's like, oh well, this D&D is bad, and Mike Warnicki also was like, oh, D&D is bad, and blah 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 blah. But I've read both of these guys, and I've actually seen William Schneblin. I mean, I've seen Mike Warnicki and William Schneblin live 2 times each. And you know what's sad?
Wow.
No, you know what's sad?
That you saw them 2 times each? That you paid for it? That someone paid for it.
Are you throwing dice from the back?
Someone gave a love offering, and it wasn't me. But you know what's funny is every time they talk, it's like, 1, I want a graham cracker. 2, I want this more. Like, I really want to get into this. This sounds cool. No, meaning that I remember my parents bought me several books. Because they knew that I was kind of, this imaginative kind of kid. And they bought me several books.
Oh, you said, I want this more. I got it. I heard, I want the s'more. It's like, you don't want the s'more.
Oh, no. I do want s'mores.
Yeah, I was like,
my wife knows this. I do want the s'mores, sadly. But at the same time,
not James's s'mores, just going to say.
Not James's s'mores. My specific s'mores. But I know that, it's funny, my parents bought me several books that were like, these exposés into the quote unquote occult, dealing with
and how many
and toys.
And how many of them were written by Patricia Pulling?
Right.
And,
what's funny is, until I was in my 20s, I had never heard of, I really didn't understand who Patricia Pulling was until I watched Maze and Monsters. You know what I mean? Until I was, read the book, really studied the Egbert stuff. I had no idea who she was. I mean, my parents didn't know who she was, but essentially, the Satanic Panic started in 1972, and a lot of the fundamentalists really stuck to. And you know what? Even when they were debunked, even when Mike Warnicki and William Schneblin was debunked, people still, because you know what? People have said that you don't want to be the one who speaks the truth. You want to be the one who speaks first. Because what people hear first, they think is true. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
people want to be the first one that speaks.
And that's an interesting thing to call out. I mean, when we're talking about Satanism and the Satanic Panic, they're talking about like a caricature, not.
Yep.
It's
well, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and to me, it feels like in a lot of ways, the Satanic Panic is a backlash, like a reactionary counter revolution, or counter culture. It seems like it immediately follows the '60s, right? And in the '60s, you have this like massive, explosion in the counterculture. You also have, the release, or the popularization of fantasy literature caused by the release of cheap versions of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Hammer horror. I mean, one thing can claim a bigger influence on Dungeons and Dragons than fucking Hammer horror. I mean, Dave Arneson admitted to having, his inspiration for Castle Blackmore was like a Hammer horror marathon he'd watched, on one day. Then he did, Castle Blackmore the next day. So it feels to me like that's the Satanism that they're talking about. It's that Satanism. It's not like actual Satanism. Which is an actual thing.
Right.
It's this cartoon Satanism that's like Peter Cushing stroking a cat that he's about to strangle, and Vincent Price, with devil horns. That's the Satanism that they think is happening.
Speaking of Thriller,
it's yeah, right. To me, that's I think, like, I realize at a certain point, it's like, because I'll admit, like, in that pariah state that I existed, I immediately, oh, fucking, that's satanic? Let's learn about Satanism. Oh, wait a minute. Satanism isn't what they think Satanism is. Satanism is actually...
Oh, well,
okay, well, let's learn about something else instead.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I have good friends. Some of my best friends, like, I would say one of my best friends to this day would call himself, probably a practicing Satanist. And, I mean, I try to explain to my, fundamental friends, like, guys, Satanism is not probably what you think it is. And that's a hard thing because of the quote-unquote Satanic Panic.
Well, yeah, but there's two different pieces, right? There's practicing Satanism, and then there's, like, the chick traps.
The caricature. He said it,
right.
The caricature. There's the caricature.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's always projected upon the youth, right? It's a 13-year-old boy in a black trench coat, dragging some kid out into the woods. I mean, that's spray painting, shit on some concrete somewhere. That's their picture.
Sounds like just teenagers in general.
Right. Well, but there you are, right? It's it's this effort, to come down on the kids, because he's listening to music you don't like. He doesn't give a shit about adults in his life, and he happens to wear a black T-shirt, and therefore, how can we cast this kid out from society? Well, he's satanic, anyway.
So I want to mention a couple of the things that people that our viewers bring up. Jim Cox asks everybody, basically, have you read Dark Dungeons?
Oh,
the chick tract. The first time I went. First time I went to GenCon, I'd had a copy of Dark Dungeons before. Yeah, right? Joe Bittman gave me a copy of that. I'd read it like 1,000 times before, but it was just nice. I've got one in my bag now because of Joe.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
I want to play that.
It's a classic. Don, did you get the benefit of the chick tract when you were growing up?
No, I mean, I've seen it.
That's a
I think I saw it back then. So it was just kind of like the rule was laid down, and when I was in high school, we had this young preacher come in, and he was in his mid-20s. He was like one of us, and he led the teen youth group. I'm like, dude, why?
Okay, Don, let me stop you for 1 second. John, let me stop you for 1 second.
We gotta give Don a chance to talk.
No, I know, but I'm trying to get some details.
Yeah.
So, Don, what mainline denomination were you?
Nazarene.
Okay. I know this well because
for the rest
half
of us,
my family is Nazarene.
Oh yeah. So we couldn't go to the movies.
Yeah, I'm in the same Dark Harleys, and I have no idea.
You can't play cards.
Yeah.
You can't dance.
No cards. No.
No way. Are they allowed to? Do you give gifts at birthdays, that sort of thing?
Nope.
Or like...
They don't do any of that.
Well, yeah, we do the normal. We're not.
You weren't hardcore enough,
We're not
John.
like those crazy. I'm sure.
He's gonna say Mormon.
No, I was going to say, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm like, I don't really want to offend anybody. If anyone watching or listening to this podcast is a Jehovah's Witness, I'll blow you.
All right. Talks to you in your class.
So,
Harley, I think your wife was just behind you, like looking, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, because we're clearly having more fun than we're allowed. Yeah.
She thought you were neat to us. It's all over.
She's basically saying, "Are the kids asleep yet?"
Oh yeah.
Don't have too much fun.
You're on a podcast. Wave.
My wife, before we started, was like, "It's a podcast, right? Like, I won't be seen, right?" And I was like, "Well, just don't come in the kitchen, right, sweetie? Right, sweetie?" Yep, she said, "Yeah."
So I was like, "Dude, why can't I play this? This is crazy." And by this point, it was like '89. It was probably kind of over by then. But
it was just getting started for me, man.
Really?
Yeah, I was going to say, it didn't start yet for me.
Oh, yeah. So he was like, well, look, they talk about other gods. They talk about demons. They talk about magic. I'm like, all right, I can kind of see those are the three things the church hates. I can understand that you're not actually worshiping other gods.
Oh, my gosh.
But he kind of broke it down like that, and in a way that kind of made sense. It wasn't like one of these crazy things like I've seen some video where the guy's like, oh, this game has sixes in it. It's got dice.
There's a triangle. There's a triangle. Illuminati.
Right.
The best stat you can have is 666 18. Oh my god.
Whoa. That's right.
You know what, Harley?
It just dawned on him. Yeah.
Harley, you just got it.
Holy shit, the game does have sixes in it.
And 00.
Oh.
Double zero is a bad thing?
Which also makes 666. I don't know how, but somebody said it did.
Wow.
Work the numerology for us. How do we get there?
Wow.
I have no idea.
Man, I'm really glad that I was... Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Harley.
No, I'm not. I don't know your show notes.
I was gonna say I was really glad that I was raised in a religion that didn't that stopped leaping to weird conclusions like centuries ago. That's good. It was just back when they equated all Jews with Satanism.
Right.
That was our big mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry. Guys,
I know. I was hoping you
didn't mean
go
that.
There. I was hoping you weren't going to go there because we talked about
it. Happened, right? Yeah. I'll totally own that. Yeah, Inquisition was a shitty thing to do. Just gonna say that. Yeah.
We're not gonna gloss it. But it had nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons.
I will say that James and a couple of, I guess it's mostly James Spahn brings up a point here, and I know that for a lot of us, one of the things that that the Satanic Panic made us do is work hard to have an answer to the folks who talk shit, right? I know Nathan. I know you had answers. Harley, did you? Did you have answers for folks? Did you I
turtled up. I was.
Did you?
I was just as shy then as I am now.
Which I don't. Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Sitting in the yearbook room, reading whether it was Moldve, Mensa, or like Artau, Saurian, Cyberpunk. I didn't need to interact with anybody else. For the first 20 years of my life.
I gotta say, one of the authors that I thought was really constructive for me to read, and he's a gaming author who has gone on to be a novelist of some repute, and that's Michael Stackpole. He started off writing a bunch of real.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was one of the first ones. And I was like, okay, I'm listening to this guy.
Yeah, well, he brought out facts. It was like, you know what, this is dumb. And if you think that it increases teen suicide, that was a claim, right? Was that Dungeons and Dragons, you'd kill yourself if your character died. I mean, Patricia Pulling makes that point. Jack Chick makes that point. All these assholes make that point.
Even Deere makes that point with his.
He does. William Deere, yeah.
Good night, William Deere. And he even said after playing it, he was like, you know what, I can see where this wouldn't, but at the same time, I mean, Tim Kask says it, that, hey, this guy was just looking for publicity. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so those who don't know what Nathan's talking about, he's talking about William Deere, who is the private investigator who Dallas Egbert's family hired to find him after he went missing. Which was the MSU steam tunnel case, which is the foundation for the movie Mazes and Monsters and the shitty book.
And even worse,
the birth of Tom Hanks's career.
What am I supposed to do? Steam tunnel.
Well, one of the cool things about Michael Stackpole is actually you can get the entire text of his polling report online. And again, there will be a link in the show notes. And
read it.
This is basically his line-by-line debunking of pretty much everything Patricia Polling and the group Bothered About Dungeons & Dragons ever wrote. Along with a couple of...
Bad.
Bad has not existed since Patricia Polling's death. In 2006. So, see, remember, I did research for this show.
Yeah,
but she died in 2006.
It's like a real podcast or something.
I know, it's like we're...
It's so weird.
I'm trying to have Mike discipline to a degree. It's amazing. I've got...
we talked about this earlier, Harley.
Did we? Well, Nathan and I did talk about how much should we actually talk about. Then he did the hey, I know about the selling Satan, all that shit, blah blah blah. So I started looking selling Satan. I don't know what that is. So that's why I'm anywhere near the point that Nathan started at. But Michael Stackpole was a guy I remember an editorial in an issue of Dungeon magazine somewhere in 91 or 92, and he started spewing some facts. I was like, I gotta listen to this guy. And then once there was an internet, his facts came back to me, and that made sense. So, aside from the suggestion that we should start a DSR Satanic Temple, which is by Richie Singler, Dan Domi actually brings up a point that I wanted to talk about, so we'll talk about it now. And he asks, what impact does the Satanic Panic have now, more than 30 years later? Is there a lesson we can learn, or at least something we can incorporate into our games themselves, maybe into the way we go about gaming? What do you guys think? Where are we sitting here?
Well, I mean, is it willing to? I think we need to address that question, but I think we can. If you guys are willing, we could spin back, the chronologically, Patricia Polling, she did have an effect on or the Satanic Panic had an effect on D&D because at about the same time that they erased demons and devils from AD&D. I mean, I could just speak for myself. That was the first time, as I was dyed-in-the-wool TSR, fanboy. It was like, these dudes are lame. They totally, they sold out. They erased this part of the canon, and I mean, there's definitely a generational liberation from TSR caused by their capitulation to the Satanic Panic.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's the whole vanillification of 2E.
Thank you.
Where
2E definitely whitewashed.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
they were clear about that.
The nod TSR, games. Well, maybe not, but at least contributed to. What was your guys' response to that whitewashing, that vanillification? Don Stroh, go.
First of all, vanilla is not a bad flavor. It's delicious. It's not mild or neutral or bland. It's delicious. All right.
Oh well,
it comes from an orchid.
But D&D without demons or devils is bland and boring.
I've never even. I don't think I've read a 2E book. I've only read the first edition.
No, we'll start with the easy one first. We'll do Don, the guy who only plays first edition.
All right. I made a bad choice. Adam, go.
Well, I would say I had been into Menser before I got into AD&D. My first AD&D was 2E, but by that time I was also into Palladium too, so I was really fucking confused. It's like every other game. First off, I didn't understand the difference between Palladium and AD&D, so we did a mix thing where we played Palladium characters. Right, we've talked about this before, Nathan. You and I have, and I think on the show, right?
Yeah.
You could play a D&D character in a Palladium game or a Palladium character in a D&D game, and it was totally cool. Well, that's how we did it, because we didn't know you couldn't do it that way. So I never really had not demons, but I did have, like, this version of the game doesn't have that stuff, and that was confusing to me. However, also remember, like when the initial releases of second edition came out, there were no monsters, right? The monsters were that separate loose leaf monstrous compendium, right?
That's true.
And you didn't know there weren't, demons and devils in that until you looked for the monster manual and found they weren't there. They did even
Betezu, yeah.
Well, but they weren't even in there. They were that took years to get to. It wasn't until they did a compendium for the Outer Planes that they were in there.
Nice.
I remember this very well because second edition was my AD&D was second edition, and I wanted all of the other stuff that I couldn't have because I didn't because they didn't make it anymore. So that's where I learned. I mean, but I had the Menser stuff already, and then I was so I thought it was in the Palladium stuff. So I was really confused as to why it's not in there, and I always wanted to learn more, about this. It had to have been occluded for a reason, and I now understand what that was. But at the time, I was just so confused by it because it seemed arbitrary and stupid. But I mean, it is a capitulation, right? It's a capitulation to these cultural forces, to make things safe and non-threatening and blah blah blah. But as Harley said, I think that really drove a lot of us once we realized that, hey, they put the bumper pool things up, or the bumper bowling things up. Now we're just rolling balls down a lane. That I think drove a lot of folks like me to other things where where there weren't these rigid rules on what how you were going to play. Think about Dungeon Magazine taught a lot of us how to write an adventure, I think, and how to look critically at adventures because you got so many in a magazine, right? But it also, I think, did a lot of damage to the content of what could be in an adventure, because that second edition era, which is when Dungeon starts as a magazine, was the very tail end of first edition, beginning of. They're really sanitary. Those adventures, they don't feature anything risque or dangerous. It's all very safe. There are good guys. There are bad guys. The good guys win. The bad guys lose. You are a good guy, and you will fight the bad guys. And that's entertaining for a little while, but you get sick of it, right?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I don't want to disagree with you per se, but one of my favorite, I think, is in Dungeon 67. I want to say it's maybe
66.
Dungeon 66.
You're talking about.
You're
talking about pretty far down the track there, buddy.
Yeah,
that's a couple of. I mean, that's not. That used to come out every 6 months, so that's maybe 10 years into its run.
So maybe it would have been 90, 91. But still, it was the. I'm trying to think of the adventure. It was the pyramid of. It was the one where it was the pyramid in the middle of the town, and that was definitely a demon in the middle of the town. But I'm off track. Whatever.
We'll ask Wayne Snyder. He'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne will know.
But Nathan,
so
they scrubbed demons and devils from AD&D. What was your experience?
2E. Yeah.
Sorry, 2E. From Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, was that a landmark moment in your gaming experience?
Did it mean anything to you? Yeah.
Thank you.
For me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, I can tell you guys, honestly, like, it was hilarious. Like, if it had Dungeons and Dragons on the title, I was banned from it. But I could play Palladium. I could play, Teenage Mutant.
Palladium is a lot riskier, yeah.
Well, I know that,
or a lot more risque, really.
It did not have D&D
those
on
two
the
words.
Cover. But Palladium didn't, and so it's like I remember having Palladium Fantasy. I remember having Heroes Unlimited. I remember having Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember having all these other games that were not D&D because D&D was bad. It didn't matter what it had. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember just the idea of it being called D&D was a horrible thing.
Right. Okay, so back to the original question. So we fast forward now to the present day. How has the Satanic Panic influenced, what is becoming, 30, 40 years down the line?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm going to tell you, like I said, I was at a funeral like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and if I would have called what I was playing with those kids D&D, it would have still had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Dungeons and Dragons. And I hate saying it, but just that name,
right.
In a good way.
Lamentations of the Flame Princess, they would have been totally cool with it.
Oh, yeah, totally fine with Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Is that bundle still on? Can we still join?
Mommy, what's that Medusa doing to that statue? Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
No, and that's funny because, like I said, it's just the term Dungeons and Dragons has such a polarizing effect on people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it anything else, and it would be fine. But even in my world,
I'd also say it has a galvanizing effect on people. Whether you're talking about for or against. I think that a lot of us, if you just like, I guess a lot of us learned like, oh, it's role playing. We learned we're playing D&D. Even if you're not fucking playing D&D, we called it we're playing D&D, right? You might be playing Shadowrun, but we're playing D&D. It's that whole is it a pop? Is it a Coke? Is it a soda? What is it? It's a
it's definitely the size. And in the sense of it's a Sprite Coke. But it's still,
right.
It's a Sprite Coke.
But yeah, exactly. It's a D&D. We're playing D&D. That's what we're doing. And it is galvanizing to the degree of if somebody picks on D&D, a lot of us are going to get up and, stand up. How many of us are really mad at John Wick right now, for his whole D&D isn't role-playing? I still have a chip on my shoulder about that shit. And I also don't believe he's acquitted himself adequately of those charges,
I'm not going to say anything about John Wick and how much I hate him. I'm not going to say anything about that.
And I am not going to talk about how many awful things could happen to him at UConn this year when he's one of the guests of honor. I am not making any threats or promises on that front.
The guy's worth millions of dollars.
But, yeah, he's worth millions of gaming dollars, which is about $5.
I have played Tomb of Horrors dozens of times, and it's still one of my favorite adventures.
All right.
Right. So I'm gonna jump in here, Harley, and I want to talk about the legacy of it. It did teach us in a lot of cases, that we're not, in my opinion, that we like to solve a mystery. Because for me, like, it was, where are these things that are in every other game and they're not in this one? And I had to go back in time and dig them out and like unpack demons and devils from and all of the witchcrafty like things from D&D's past and sort out how did this shit like get taken, how did it get excised, and so it taught me that I want to solve that mystery. But at the same time, it also kind of taught us a degree to which we don't want to have things adulterated. We don't want to be talked down to as gamers. We don't want to be talked down to as game players, DMs, whatever. We want to be able to have a mature and interesting game without someone else telling us, oh, that's bad. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I do think that it's also caused, and this is that causes a bit of a backlash against some of the vanillification. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that. You ready? Okay. So I think that one of the unintended consequences of the second edition vanillification of D&D, or AD&D, sorry, is the X card. And the concept of making games like this totally like rubber room kind of environment where you can't really hurt yourself, blah blah blah. It's the X card. It's the characters shouldn't die logic. It's all of this stuff that like arises from this first we're gonna make D&D safe, and then we're gonna make it safe for the characters, and then we're gonna make it safe for our feelings, and then we're gonna make it safe. And I think that to a degree it causes an irrational backlash against that stuff because. You just say oh, your character isn't going to die, and I immediately just what? There's no chance. There's no threat of death. I'm not interested. Fuck you. There's real. And I think that some people take it further than others. I mean, there's some people you just say the word safe space to them, and they're like, "Wow, this is bullshit. You're censoring me." Blah blah blah. and I do believe in safe spaces for gamers and for gaming, but
I believe
I
believe in the law of Wheaton of don't be a dick. I do believe in that.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't want to be nice, but I do want to be kind.
I think one of the weird legacies that we're dealing with of the Satanic Panic is people who are sick of the shit of the creation of the softening up of things, and that is not exactly a positive thing. Yes, we've seen it, and we've seen how much damage it can do, but we're kind of glossing over any of the good things it might do at the same time.
Yeah.
Harley.
Oh man. My only objection is I'm not sure that the X card falls into that. And I'm just hanging on.
That was literally the first thing that came to mind. So I don't know that it's necessarily.
And that was Adam. That was also Adam's soapbox.
This whole show is Adam's soapbox. I don't know what you're talking
about. Yeah. Well, okay, but Nathan, I mean, you're up in the mix right now. Like, so, all right, how is it affecting you? I mean, you're living what some people would call a double life, and both being a minister and a GM. You're both bringing the good word and practicing Satanism. How do these beams intersect? Whatever in your life. Like, because you can testify to what it looks like 30 years on.
Well, yeah, no, and I can see it. Like, I mean,
like in your congregation, are you scared to say, "Oh yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons," like because people are going to call you out?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, I have to be really careful because of the connotation. Because I mean, it has. I mean, I know that Adam said it's galvanizing. But the truth be told, like, it's polarizing. But at the same time, like, if I was to say something like, yes, I am ordained, but I also run Dungeons and Dragons, it would take, I mean, I hate saying this, but it would take way more time. Meaning it would take time for me to meet with individuals.
Sure.
Or for me to talk to them. I mean, but part of this is, these people know me. Meaning, I mean, I'm going to use very Christianese language here. If you know what I'm talking about, I'm going to use Christianese. And that
lay it on us.
No, I'm just going to say this because I'm going to talk different language.
Yeah.
And that they know my fruit. Do you know what I mean? I know. I'm just going to use quotations. So they know my fruit. They know that my life.
Right.
They know that my actions, that I hate saying this in these terms, but I'm a good guy, and that I do things that are quote unquote biblical, and that do you know what I mean? Like I'm a leader. Like I'm a leader in our church.
You don't need scare quotes. It's okay, dude. Like,
no.
I feel like we're on the flip side now. Now that you're talking to role players,
nobody's giving you shit for being a minister.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, like in my congregation,
dude, just like give it to us straight. This is good. Like
but I'm saying, and then the thing, and I mean the thing is like I moved from a several years ago. I moved from a very controversial mega ministry to a local church, to a local congregation, and for me to say that I not that I run role playing games, but specifically that Dungeons and Dragons is like my this is my go-to is a big deal, like because that takes a ton of people having relationship with me and them saying, oh my gosh, okay, I know Nathan and I know what he believes, two, how his praxis, if you want to use like real theological terminology, like I know his praxis, I know what he does. Do you know what I mean?
I'm trying to put it in game terms like, man, if I have like 1d5 praxis plus 5 my spell check, I'm that dick right now.
I'm sorry, my school.
I get you. Yeah.
But I mean, like, it takes time, and that I have to actually sit down with people and explain. Like, it's easier for me just to tell them, hey, I play story games. I use my imagination. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. Do you know what I mean?
I totally get you. I mean, it's got to be a huge onus for you to broach this portion of your life.
Oh no, it's huge, and I mean, and it's like it's not that it's a shameful part of my life, and that I'm I'm ashamed of this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you know how it is. Like if you're living any sort of quote unquote alternate lifestyle within the culture that you're in, you kind of have to spend more time to explain
your tattoos. Yeah, like how does the congregation deal with the man who's pierced, who has live fast, die hard on his hands? Like what's their relationship with you? I mean, you must be an anomaly, and
and truth be told, like Harley, I've always been that way. Like that's just kind of my, modus operandi is I'm this anomaly / enigma / dichotomy, whatever you want to call it. That I'm this guy that's like, hey, I'm leading these people, and at the same time I'm like, hey, he's doing this thing that I don't really understand, and I don't really get it, and why is he really into it, and why is he I don't want to say I'm a leader in my field, or I'm a leader kind of in the in role playing, but it's like, how is he this guy that's in it, kind of leading it?
Sure. Well, from both sides. So, have you ever had like as a member of the church, have you ever had an experience where it caused you to was like role playing ever like a strike against you? Like somebody called you out and was like, all right, Nathan, all right, Mr. Panke, I really appreciated the sermon you delivered today, but I heard you roll 6-sided dice in your spare time.
Well, you know what, and I've had, but like I said, I hate saying, I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't preface so much, but at the same time, people know me. I keep using those air quotes of fruit, meaning my actions. My actions speak louder than my words. And because of that, they can look at me and go, well, I know you do this thing that I don't totally understand, but at the same time, that doesn't disqualify you. I've never, until when I'm as an adult, I've never had that. But as a teenager, you know what I mean? Totally. It's been oh man, this kid is totally he's way too into comic books. He's way too into these books. He's way too into this fiction. And I think in a way, my sticking to my guns in a way, going, hey, I do have a belief system. I do have things that I believe that, your average atheist / anti-theist would be like, oh, this guy's a nut job. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, because I've stuck to my guns and go, no, I believe in these things, and also I believe in really fostering imagination, fostering rationalism, fostering free thought, fostering really creative thinking. That it's kind of put me in this weird. I'm maybe a little too extreme for my church people, and I'm maybe a little too conservative for my role-playing people.
So is the legacy of Patricia Pulling living in Christianity today?
Oh, totally. Like I said it before. You don't need to be the right person. You need to be the first person. The first person that speaks is going to be the first person that is going to be the only person that people remember. It doesn't matter if you prove something wrong, or if you prove something, I shouldn't say wrong, if you prove something correct or incorrect. You need to be the first person that says something, because that's what people are going to remember. And so I'm in this weird place of kind of basically saying, hey, I'm this guy that believes essentially what you believe, and I'm saying this isn't what you think it is, because Patricia Pulling has been dead for a long time, and her cause
10 years now, yeah,
it's gone. And scientifically we've proven that everything that she said is incorrect. and Mike Warneke is incorrect, and Todd Johnson is incorrect. All these guys that were like, the
right, but they got their message there first, so that still lives.
Exactly. Because and I hate to say this, I really hate to say this, but the majority of the people that are in the camp of those who I am leading, of those who I'm trying to enlighten, those who I'm trying to enlighten, most of them are stuck in 1980 or 1972. Okay. And so I'm trying to tell them, hey, that's not actually true.
Okay, so
Harley, I gotta ask you though.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. I gotta ask you, what do you see as the legacy of the Satanic Panic? Where how do you and the backlash against it? Where do you see things?
I mean, at least in we can only speak to our personal experiences in our personal community. Where I'm at right now, I work in a school. I'm around young children all the time, and there's nothing attached to that. For my specific community, I think there's zero awareness. They think I'm a geek, I'm a nerd. The guy that still in the yearbook room, typing away on his computer, so he can avoid having lunch with the rest of the kids in the lunchroom. From my experience, I don't encounter any of that. And I look at Nathan Panke, I look at John Hirschberger. There's probably it's actually kind of unfortunate that you guys need to hold a poll or something. There's probably a host of
John for sure.
John's
like a deacon.
Right. The dude's he does the Sunday school, and then he'll run D&D afterwards. There's probably a host of people in the OSR and the larger gaming community that are both practicing Christians and that manage to find enjoyment in our hobby. And so I think
for example, we were previous guests, but Stan Shin is in the Orthodox. He's in the Eastern Orthodox Church, and he deals with that. Same exact sort of thing.
A more amusing side note, and I'd be interested to hear Nathan's take and Don's on this, but so the response to the satanic RPG is you have the lame Christian RPG. Forgive me, Nathan, but has there ever been a
no? You're right.
Christian RPG? They're all lame.
They don't exist. They don't exist.
What was the one? There was one from the 80s, late 80s and 90s.
I don't know.
I
remember it. There's a guy holding a sword aloft, and I'm sure there's a shield with a cross on it somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
It didn't have anything to do with the Crusades.
Demons. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, my parents had it for me. It was bad.
But
do you guys mind if I stir the pot for just a sec? I just want to stir the pot because Richie Singler actually asked an interesting question here, which the way I said that totally sounded dismissive. Richie Singler asked an interesting question, which is, in all seriousness, I think there's way too much justification of bigotry going on here. Would we be defending Christians' rights to judge LGBT people in this way?
Wait, hold on.
So Nathan, this is a hard question, for you kind of specifically. Because I guess the implication I think is that Richie's saying that you're not challenging. I don't know if you have a responsibility to challenge them and to not. Do you have an ethical responsibility to challenge their beliefs, or just kind of work within them? And then I'll be honest. The reason I picked this question is I was kind of wondering, that specific language. Do you have the responsibility to challenge people's beliefs? Because for me, I'm just always you don't believe a thing that, you know what I'm saying? I will always be willing to challenge people's beliefs. And I'm just wondering from your perspective, from where you're at, do you feel you have that responsibility?
Well, in all honesty, this is going to kind of be, I feel like I'm softballing it here. Because the truth is you have to be true to yourself. And, I have to ask people, hey, because the truth is, with the people that I'm specifically dealing with, I have to go within your belief system. Do you know what I mean? Within the thing that you believe, is this true? Is this not true? And I have to kind of poke holes. And I'm not going to be hey, this is wrong, this is right. But I have to go, hey, you need to, for yourself, question these things. I did. Do you know what I mean? Question these things.
Yeah.
Don't just take it for granted. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't just take certain things.
Yeah, no, I do. I Nathan, I'll be honest. I knowing you, I know that's where you were going to come from on this angle. I completely hear where Richie was coming from with that question too.
Yeah, totally.
Because, I was thinking, like, do we have an ethical responsibility to make people question their beliefs? And I wanted you to have the opportunity to voice that, because I know that about you, and I wanted you to have the chance to share.
I don't say this very often, and so I'm going to share it with your community that does not know this. So this is going to be kind of a one-off. No, I mean I'm being totally serious. I'm being completely serious. So I'm in
Get ready to edit this out, Don.
No, yeah. So Don, if you need,
it'll be secret. Only the live people get to know this, and the people on the podcast listening to this like a few weeks from now, nothing.
We had from Nathan Panke. This is awesome.
No, I'm being completely serious. I mean, I really am. I'm being completely serious.
You're amongst.
We're serious with you. We're good.
Yes. So, given the little, you understand the framework that I'm kind of in. I have family members that are a part of and in the LBGT movement. I mean, they're active in it. And so, I mean, I'm in the same, do you know what I mean? I'm in the same world of these are people that I love. These are people that I have, they're my family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm in the same kind of, I mean, other than conundrum, I don't know
because of your connection to your church.
Exactly.
You're in the same position with the LGBT issue, and so you're
exactly. And so I mean,
so,
like I said, this is not something. Like I said, this is coming out on your podcast, but this is not something that I'm going to trumpet. In G+ or trumpet in Facebook, because of just the galvanizing / polarizing, that these terms, that when we say something, it galvanizes / polarizes people, and it's like, hey, these are people that I genuinely have, and like I said, I don't want to preface, but I have goodwill towards. These are people that I love and actually care for. And want to see the best for them, and want to side with them as best as I can within the framework that I have.
Just to kind of like paraphrase just a little bit, if you don't mind, Nathan, because I always enjoy your enthusiasm, and I know it can keep going. So I'm just going to paraphrase, if you don't mind, because I get where you're coming from, man. It's for you. It's about changing minds, right? Yes. Rather than railing against the problem, right? Does that sound more appropriate?
Well, and it's I honestly, the one thing,
because I'm a total rail against the system kind of guy. I'll be the guy like yelling into the night like, what's wrong with you? And that's okay. That's my not everybody can be doing that.
Well, no, and it's funny because Adam, until I was maybe about 21, I was totally the anti guy until I was about 21, and then I wasn't the anti guy, which is a weird turn of events. But the point is like I really do believe that with role playing games, it lets us put ourselves in the shoes of other people, and helps us to bring understanding. To where I can go, maybe I don't quite understand exactly what's going on with this person. But it helps me to, and I know these words are going around with different, even in the G+, even in the RPG, OSR / whatever world, is the idea of empathy / sympathy. But it helps me to understand there are people that think differently than me, and the truth is they love people and they want to be loved. They want to be accepted. They want to be, and I think the one thing, I mean, I don't want to make it all mushy, but the truth is the one thing that role-playing taught me.
You're loving everybody.
No, the one thing that
role-playing I'm just teasing you. I'm teasing you. Come on.
But the one thing that it's taught me is, man, there are people that are different from me, but they're just like me. Yeah. And I want to understand them, and if I can put myself in their shoes, I can understand them better. Like I said, I don't want to make it gushy. But it's like that's the one thing that has helped me.
Sure. All right. Well, gents, we have been talking about this for some time, and I think we're going to have to wrap things up right about now. So I want to ask you guys for your final thoughts here. I didn't get a lightning round question in ready, so we're not going to do that. But final parting thoughts on the Satanic Panic, what it did to gaming, where it's brought us. Nathan, one sentence. Wrap it up for me.
It made me want to game more.
Harley Stroh.
I'm still processing the fact that we've reached the end of a DSR episode and we're not all descending into laughter and alcoholism.
I know, isn't it strange?
This is actually this is a good topic that I wasn't quite anticipating when I.
Honestly, I wish we had more time to talk, but maybe we'll come back for round 2 next season.
I think there's a round 2, but we probably need some well, Nathan and a more educated person than myself. Final thoughts.
Oh, Harley, you're doing better. You're doing my job so well. It's great.
Harley, straight up, you're one of my favorite people in the world. Just straight up, you're one of my favorite people.
And he's not mushy.
Okay. Final thoughts. One sentence. It is interesting that the lure of the
Forbidden.
It's come back around again, right? So we're all trying to make D&D evil again. Lamentations has done a really great job. Even DCC is. There's adventures in DCC. So now 30 years on from Patricia Pulling, we're trying to re-inject Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games with evil again. And so I think there's a topic of conversation there, but thank goodness we survived it, and apologies to all the children that were cast out because they enjoyed role-playing games and had to suffer because of people taking the DMG out of their hands and throwing it into the bonfire and making them feel like pieces of shit because they like playing games.
There's something wrong with them. Yeah.
Well, right.
Don Stroud.
There's an adult somewhere that's going to hell, and that gets playing Dungeons and Dragons is definitely not.
Hey, Don Stroud.
Yeah.
Give it to me, man. Where are you feeling?
What am I coming around with? This is my message.
Yeah. What's your?
This is my message.
Drop some knowledge, Don.
I'm ready for your testimony.
No one who needs to hear this.
Diamonds to pearls, man. Diamonds to pearls.
But you need to replace your small-minded fear with curiosity and inquisitiveness, and actually use your freaking brain and just think about it, man. Evolution is real.
Miscavige, take us out.
So I want to say this is going to be a paradoxical thought, and while I think that in a lot of cases the Satanic Panic was fucking stupid, and it was a lot of bullshit about nothing, I think in a lot of ways it taught me a lot. And in that same way that hardship teaches you shit, in a lot of ways it taught me who I am. Having to deal with people who suddenly held things against me that made no sense. It was completely illogical, and to learn how to, my own personal way of dealing with illogical people, which, as we said a minute ago, is just to rail into a good darkness. I learned. It taught me a lot of things about myself, and like kind of helped me find a center of personal strength to say, "Fuck you! I'm moving forward with the thing I love." And I, in a lot of ways, I owe the Satanic Panic something. And as perverse as that sounds, it's not like I masochistically choose to go through it again. It taught me a shit ton about who I am as a gamer, who I am as a person, and who I am as a creator of things.
Yep.
And I'm happy with that. Mm-hmm. I want to thank my fabulous guests, Mr. Harley Stroh, Mr. Nathan Panke. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for being here. You have a great time at GenCon next week, guys. I wish I was going.
I'm not going to be there.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought you were going. I don't know why I thought that. But okay, Harley, have a good time for Nathan and I.
Harley's
Donn Stroud.
And you know, and at some point over the course of Gen Con, I'm going to go to DugCon, and I'm going to ask the 75 people that have been collected to give a collective big F you to Patricia Pulling for ostracizing any child for all
if you
your
can
lies.
record it, and it will be part of this episode. It will be happening right at the end.
For your, you know, for the hatred that you foisted upon these children, for the legacy that you've given to Dungeons and Dragons. We're gonna have a massive photo of Doug Kahn just like.
Nice.
You can already see. You can see Doug.
Beautiful.
You can see Doug.
You know, Harley, I will say this. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And like I said, I'm this guy that went from, it did not kill me, it literally turned me into a producing author.
I punch her daily. Just because I know that, you know, she's and I was Mr. Panke. You know, I love you because you are, I don't know, like a brother to me. But we also.
I didn't know that this love fest was going to happen at the end of the episode. I thought we'd just get that recursive laughter thing, and but it's a love fest over here.
Harley and I converse over the IMing a lot. We converse a lot. And it's mostly us just saying how much we like each other. Not even about anything other than, hey, I like you. I like you too.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I got it.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Okay.
What doesn't kill us makes us strong. However, if I do want a plant to survive a drought, I don't deprive it of water. I give it all the water it needs. Hopefully, build deep roots, grow super big and strong. Like, no, we need to support our kids.
Yep.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Everybody support Lamentation. Come on.
I think it's done by now, but thank you, Harley. My fabulous co-host, Mr. Donn Stroud, thank you for being awesome. And you gorgeous listeners.
They're the most beautiful listeners. Beautiful.
They really are.
Right?
They have
not just for
they have faces made
not
for
just
listening.
radio.
It's great.
Right? You want to do Christian things?
I do have to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. I want to thank Victor Garrison, Steve Siggety, Eric Talvola, and Dan Domi for their support of the show. Thanks a lot, guys.
These are all some of my favorite people.
I know. That's what's awesome about our patrons. Like, I look at the list, it's like, I love talking to these people. I love that they're around. This is so cool. I love listening. We got the best patrons. What can I say? Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, folks, for listening. We'll see you next time. Adios.
See you, Gen Con. Love you guys.
Later.
Me too.
And 1 second, guys. I went ahead and I